Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm trying to make an effort to post more on YouTube because I tend to neglect this app quite a lot. So today we are going to do all the books that I read this past week, and then we're also going to go through all the books that I plan on reading in this next week. We'll start with fantasy because I did finish 3 different fantasy books in the first week of April, and I just have been loving fantasy so much lately. In March I was in a little bit of like a fantasy reading slump. I just wasn't feeling it, but in April that is completely fixed and I'm loving the fantasy book so much. So I actually started the month off with the Book of Doors, and this book was such an absolute 5-star read for me. I was addicted to this. I read this I think in 24 hours, which it's not the largest fantasy book, so it's not like too crazy, but it's just absolutely such an incredible story. This book follows this woman who works in a bookstore, and she has this very regular old customer, and he unfortunately dies while she is working, and so all she knows or all she gets from him is the book that he's currently reading, as well as this book that he left for her. And the book that he left for her is called The Book of Doors, and basically this book has magical abilities, allows whoever is currently holding the book to imagine any door in their head, and as long as they can picture it, they can transform themselves to being there. So this means that you can go literally anywhere you want, anywhere that you can imagine you can go there. So this book is incredibly powerful, which makes it very dangerous to have because a lot of people want this book. So I'll leave you guys there, but this book was so good. I gave this 5 stars. If you like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue or you like The Midnight Library, then I definitely think you'll like this one. And then the second fantasy book that I read is called Dawn of the Darkest Day, and this is like a romantasy book, and check your trigger warnings. This book is really large and it has a lot of very kind of difficult subject matter that a lot of people will not want to read, so read through your triggers, but I do recommend this if you do like romantasy. This book follows our main character, Ara, who finds herself basically swept away by the king of the land that she and her family were completely eradicated from. She is now living a simple life. She is hoping to be engaged soon to this guy that she really loves, and instead she is swooped up to the castle to be wed to the king, and she had no idea that she was betrothed to this king. Her father basically traded their freedom when they were able to escape from that land where the king reigns, their freedom in exchange for her having to go marry the king when she became of age. So now she's of age, and this is a complete surprise to her, and so now she's married to this very evil king who has basically tried to wipe out her entire people, and of course that is not exactly what she wanted with her life. So this book takes a lot of crazy turns. That all happens in the first couple of chapters, but I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4.5 stars. I definitely do recommend, again, if you like romantasy, because it is very heavy on the romance side of things, and again, check your triggers because there's a morally gray MMC male main character, and yeah, he does some things, so check your triggers on this one. The next one that I read was The Bands of Mourning. I won't go into the plot of this one just because if you haven't read the first 2 books in this era of Mistborn, then you'd get some spoilers, but this is book 3 in era 2 of Mistborn. I've loved every single Mistborn book that I've read, and I'm sure I'm going to love the last one, so I'm hoping to read The Lost Metal probably this month, but if not, then definitely in May. But definitely love this so much. I'm happy that I'm back into reading Brandon Sanderson because his writing is truly absolutely spectacular. The first fantasy book I ever read was The Way of Kings, so I kind of just dove straight into the deep end with fantasy, but I loved it so much. So now I'm making my way through the very end of Mistborn, and then all I really have left is Elantris. I have the White Sand book here, and then I have his YA and children's series, and I do plan to read Skyward, and of course, but those are pretty much it, I think, unless I'm missing something. I've read most of his books, and they've all been so good. Then I read 2 different 5-star thrillers. You guys are gonna not believe my ratings on my books because they're all so high this week, but if you check out my old review videos for the month, normally I only have a few 5-star reads an entire month, let alone I think this week I had 3 5-star reads just in this week, which is really crazy. But these 2 thrillers were so creepy and so good. The first one that I read I actually listened to on audio. This is Night Watching, and normally when I listen to a thriller on audio, I actually don't fully feel as creeped out because I'm doing the dishes or doing laundry while listening to a book in broad daylight, as opposed to if I'm physically reading a book and it's dark outside and I have my ambiance set on my TV, I can get really creeped out with a book. But this one, even though I was listening on audio in the middle of the day while multitasking, I still managed to feel super creeped out because this book is very eerie in the best of ways. It follows this single mother who her kids just woke up from a nightmare, so she goes and puts her kids back to bed. She's making her way back to her room when she starts to hear the sound of footsteps going up her stairs, and she and her kids live alone, so she knows that somebody is in her house, and so she makes the split decision. She grabs her kids and she goes into this secret hiding place in their home, and basically this guy who's in their house is trying to coax the kids out. He's trying to make them make noise. He's basically just tormenting them, and it is so incredibly creepy, and this book is crazy, and I just really loved it so much. So I gave it 5 stars because I got 5 stars of like eerie enjoyment out of this one. And then I also gave 5 stars to Megan Miranda's Daughter of Mine. This book just came out last week, and it is so spectacular. I love this so much. It's also very eerie. This one follows this woman who basically goes back to her hometown after being gone for like a decade because her dad passed away, and she finds out that she actually is inheriting their family house, which she did not expect because she has 2 other like brothers that she would think that things would be split between. But she inherits the house. It's very strange. She ends up going back there and finding that the people there are really weird, and this is in the middle of a drought, so the water level is decreasing, and it's unearthing these secrets in this town that have been long buried, including something that is going to hopefully lead to her discovering what happened to her mom so many years ago when she was a kid, because her mom left and was never found again, never heard from again. She kind of left and there was no trace of her. Super creepy book, and I just loved it. So even with this one, when there weren't like really creepy things happening at the time, the atmosphere of this book just had me like kind of creeped out the whole time in the best of ways. She did a great job of writing very atmospheric, creepy thrillers. So this is definitely my favorite Megan Miranda book. I have liked most of her books except for one, but this one is by far my favorite. So definitely recommend this one. And then I also read one historical fiction. This is called The House of Eve. And this book was absolutely spectacular too. It wasn't 5 stars for me, but it was a 4.75, I believe. This book follows these 2 different women. The first one's name is Ruby, and she's a high schooler, but she's on track to being the first person in her family to go to college. So she has her life set up for her perfectly until it's kind of derailed by this like taboo love interest that she finds that might kind of make her entire plans fall apart. And then we also have our other main character. I always forget character names as soon as I'm done reading books, but her name is Eleanor. And she arrives in Washington, D.C. She's there for college, and she kind of also has her life very well put together. And she meets this guy whose name is William, and they fall madly in love. And William is from a very like affluent and wealthy Black family, and they do not really accept her into their family because she is not from like a very wealthy family. So she ends up becoming pregnant, and she is hoping that her like being pregnant will make the family finally accept her. And this book is wild. It's not as easy as she was hoping for. Their like lives, these 2 women, they are gonna cross, and you don't know how for a long time. But I love this book. It broke my heart at times. It made me feel like butterflies at times. I just really definitely recommend this if you like historical fiction. This one was very good. And then the last book that I read this week was not very good. This is part of the Beautiful series by Christina Lauren, and this is the like book that goes in between book 1 and 2. And I didn't really like book 1, so I knew I probably wasn't gonna love this one. There's just like not a whole lot of plot. It's a romance book, but like really not a whole lot of plot going on in these romance books. It was okay. I didn't like it a lot. I didn't dislike it a lot, so I gave it 2.5 stars, kind of right in the middle. All right, now it's time to go through all the books that I plan to read this next week, so the second week in April. I have a lot on my list. I probably won't get through all of these, but we'll start with the 2 books that I started reading prior to this week starting. So I was in the middle of 2 books, 1 audiobook and 1 physical book. The physical book is How to End a Love Story, and this one comes out the week that I'm recording this. It actually comes out the day that I'm recording this, which is Tuesday the 9th, and this one's good so far. I'm enjoying this a lot. I just have a little sliver. I'm actually going to finish this as soon as I'm done recording today, but it's good. I'm not like head over heels in love with it yet, but I could see it getting there depending on where the story goes. And then I'm also listening on audio to The Graham Effect. I love Elle Kennedy's writing so much. This book is thick. It's actually quite a big book, but the audiobook has been spectacular, and I love this story so much, so I'm very excited to read book 2, which comes out in May, but I'm getting an early copy of it, so I'm actually going to be starting it next week, so very excited for that. And then I also have this huge stack of books that I have not started at all, but I'm hoping to read before the week is over, but we'll see. The first one is Happily Never After. This book is super short, and I've heard nothing but good things about it so far, so I have very high hopes for this one. We also have this one called The Takeover. I haven't heard a ton about this book, but the cover is so pretty, so I feel like it's going to be a good one, which I know they say not to judge a book by its cover, but like how can you not when it's that cute? The next one is Binding 13, and this is part of a 4-book, soon to be 5-book series that has intimidated me a lot because these are YA books, but they're huge. Like this first book is like 600 pages, and the last book is like 800 pages, so I don't know, I'm very intimidated by these, but I'm excited because I hear they're absolutely beautiful and heartbreaking, so excited for this, but we'll see. That one might not happen this week. The next one that I'm planning to read is called The Band, and this one comes out next Tuesday, right? Yeah, next Tuesday, the 16th, so I'm excited for this. It's supposed to be like a K-pop like mystery book, so very unique premise. And I'm also planning to listen to The Serial Killer's Apprentice. This is an art copy, and it comes out at the end of April. So this one looks very unique. It's about this guy who basically trains under a serial killer and ends up, I got cut off there, but basically he ends up killing the person he's training under. So very unique plot there. I'm also planning to read Keep You, which is a young adult like mystery romance book, and I love this author's writing so much, so I'm very excited for this, and this cover is so creepy too, so very excited to get into this one. I'm also planning to read this book of poetry. It's called When I Fall, and poems are always just such a breeze to get through, so I'm excited. I love poetry, so this should be a good one. This one comes out at the end of April as well. And then the last book I'm planning to read this week is called One of the Good Guys, and this is by Gillian Flynn's publishing house, and it's also blurbed by her, so I have high hopes for this. I haven't seen a ton of people post about this yet, but I think it's going to be really good. And this is a very short thriller too, so I should be able to breeze through this in no time. And that's all of them. I don't know if this video is something that you guys are interested in seeing more of on YouTube. I know that if you're coming from my TikTok, you see my very quick and brief like weekly reading recaps and my weekly TBRs. So this is kind of a combo of both of them, but going more in depth into all the books. So if you guys like this, let me know. I will totally keep making them if so, but I just want to try out different video ideas because I do want to post more on here, but I sometimes find myself being like stuck for ideas. So if this isn't what you want to see, or if you just have other ideas in general of things you'd like to see from me, then let me know because I'd absolutely love to hear them.